These Election 2021 candidate interviews are sponsored by Edmonds College, Office Tech, and James Russell PLLC, Certified Public Accountants and Business Advisors. Welcome, everyone. I'm Teresa Whipple, publisher of Lynnwood Today, and I'm here with Linda Jones, the CEO and president of the Lynnwood Chamber of Commerce. And we're happy to have you joining us for these 2021 Lynnwood election interviews, both mayor and city council. And tonight we are talking with Jim Smith, who is a candidate for Lynnwood mayor. And welcome, Jim, to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to see the two of you on Zoom.
Thanks. We are going to start with a question from me, and it's sort of a general one, but a good one, I think. And that is, what are the qualities that would make you a good leader for Lynnwood?
Well, probably the biggest qualities that I have is time and grade experience. As both of you know, I've had a total time of 25 years on the city council. For 14 years, I was on the board of health, including being the chairman of the board of health. I was the president and the founder of the Lynnwood Chamber that has grown to be such a wonderful organization at this point. I was in Rotary for 16 years, including being an officer for several years. I've run my own business, but not only running my own business for decades, but I also had like 20, 25 employees at any one time. So I know what it's like to run organizations. I know what it's like to run businesses. I know what it's like to be challenged. I know what it's like to make mistakes and have to work with your failures and turn those failures into successes. And I have done all of that with my years of service here in Lynnwood. If you look at my website, you'll find that my community service started when I was very, very young. When I was in my 20s, I moved to Lynnwood in 1972 and started almost immediately being involved in my community.
Thank you very much, Jim. Now, Linda, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. All right. Lynnwood has been cited as a model for regional growth. How does Lynnwood grow while still retaining the character of its existing neighborhoods?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's also a challenging answer, a challenging procedure. The Lynnwood certainly is a center for growth, but we also have to be doing Lynnwood first. And that's been the biggest challenge. I think that once I'm mayor of Lynnwood, we're going to be focusing on the people that live here in Lynnwood. They are our main responsibility, whether we're a mayor or we're council members or our employees that are working for the city of Lynnwood. Our number one responsibility is to the people, the families, our community here in Lynnwood. And I intend to be working with that in mind. The growth here in Lynnwood cannot go on without figuring out how we're going to keep people that have lived in Lynnwood most of their life to not be edged out of their homes. Taxes have gotten outrageous in my mind. We need to be maintaining a lower tax rate, making Lynnwood more livable, again, for the people that live here before we continue on growing Lynnwood. And so that's where I would have my focus. My focus is on Lynnwood. My focus is on the people here in Lynnwood.
Thank you. No, Jim, what ideas do you have for addressing homelessness in the city?
That's an interesting question in the fact that there's about I've counted about 5 different types of homelessness throughout the decade. About 10, 12 years ago, I started getting involved with the homeless. We don't just have homeless. We don't just have everyone is just one paycheck away from being on the street. But most of the homelessness, and this is where I want to address succinctly, and that is most of the homelessness that we see are street homelessness. And those are people that we're seeing with the signs on the side of 196th Street. We see them pushing the various shopping carts. And my personal experience on this is that probably 90% of them have a drug problem that's in addition to them being homeless. We have to be giving those people, what I'd like to do is use the model that is used up in Marysville. And that is, we need to have some way that when we have someone that's homeless, that is on the street, and I'm talking street homelessness here. When we have someone that's on the street, we give them options. If we find them breaking the law, they can either go to jail and then they can dry out and go through the withdrawal in jail, or their other option, which we hope that they take, and that is that they will we can provide them treatment, and then the treatment, after they're done with their treatment, we have places for them to stay. I'm not talking about buying a motel to have 55, 65 units for people to have their own units. I'm talking about something that they will have responsibility, such as a dormitory, as an example. We need to have programs where they can be living with other people, being responsible, no tolerance for drugs and alcohol, so that they can be better persons for themselves, and we're not going to find them overdose someplace in the future. From being in that dormitory situation, they would have chores, they would be able to work themselves up to the point where they would then have a semi-private room. From there, a private room. From there, we help them getting jobs and be able to save some money up so that they can then be renting their own home, having a job, getting them back onto the track that helps them to help themselves. I was talking about 2 years ago to a social worker here in Lynnwood. We were sitting down having coffee, and probably one of the most profound things that she said that I really agree with is we need to make the street people, the homelessness, we need to make it uncomfortable. We not make it uncomfortable, but it's got to be uncomfortable, and we need to give them options on how to get out of that. And I plan on being hands up, roll up my sleeves, and be part of this in making sure that we not just talk about it, not just contact organizations and spend $2, $3, $4, $5 million for them to come in, but we actually do it ourselves. We need to be tough. We need to have tough love, and that tough love will save lives. It will save people that are currently on the street. And that, I got to tell you, that would be the biggest feather that this city has ever seen if we were able to do that. But we can't do it by just simply tolerating.
Okay, thanks a lot. Linda?
Thank you. How would you help Lynnwood businesses that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's interesting because we have many people that have ideas on this, and quite a while ago, I brought up the idea that probably the first thing we need to do is make it easier to be in business in Lynnwood. There's a head tax in Lynnwood. I'd love to see, I have proposed in the past, and I will continue to propose this. And now we have some of our fellow council members, including one of our mayoral candidates, has joined onto the bandwagon to get rid of, or at least eliminate or highly reduce that head tax. It doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but look what happened down in Seattle, where they were threatening to do a head tax, and Amazon said, well, we're not going to be around if you continue doing that. Lynnwood has a head tax, and we need to be eliminating that. We need to make it business friendly so that small businesses, large businesses are able to come into Lynnwood and not feel like they are renting the idea of a business license, but rather they're part of our community. The other thing has to do with something very simple, and that is the utility taxes. In case you haven't figured it out, I would love to reduce substantially taxes here in Lynnwood as part of my campaign, as part of my program. But several months ago, when this pandemic was hurting everybody, both residents, our citizens, our families, and our businesses, I proposed, and this is one of the first times, and I can't remember anybody else doing this in the past, throughout the decades that I've been on the council, but I actually proposed to eliminate one of our utility taxes, and that was the water tax. In addition to paying your fees for water, this is both families and the businesses. In addition to paying the fees, the city of Lynnwood charges 6% tax. That 6% goes into the general fund so that we can use it however we want. But Lynnwood brings in a lot of money in our, and even during our pandemic, we still brought in a lot of money for our sales tax. So I proposed, and I had a motion to eliminate this one tax. And by the way, it used to be, 8-10 years ago, we had 0 utility taxes. Now we got something like 11 or 12 utility taxes, everything from your telephones to your garbage. But just for the water itself is what I proposed to eliminate. I made the motion, it got seconded, the motion passed. So it would help just a little tiny bit. It would help a little bit of the hurt on the families. It would help our businesses. It passed and it got vetoed. Unfortunately, we didn't have the votes. We couldn't get three of our council members to budge who had voted against that. And we couldn't override the veto. But that's not forgotten. Eliminating the taxes is not forgotten. We will do that under my administration. We're going to do it through frugal budgeting and wise spending and prioritizing that we want to help our constituents. We want to help our stakeholders. We want to help them so that they can be thriving here in Lynnwood, because we make a lot of money off these businesses, even without this 6% tax. So that's just one way that we're going to continue. And I think that just kind of shows the mindset that I have here in Lynnwood.
Thank you, Jim, very much.
Jim, what ideas do you have for better engaging residents who have not traditionally been involved in city government?
Well, that is I feel like the two of you have known me long enough that I'm the kind of guy that does get involved. I do get engaged. And I think we have plenty of opportunities now that once I'm mayor, we're going to go into warp speed as far as community involvement is concerned. Having been a business owner and a producer, having been on the city council for as long as I have, having been actually making things happen. I'm not just a participant. I'm not just a member of the board. Like I mentioned earlier, to get engaged with our business community, we didn't have a chamber of commerce here in Lynnwood for a while. So after a few years, I decided, well, I'm just going to start one. And so I started talking to a couple of my business friends, and we sat down. I think we had 3 or 4 people the first meeting, just to kind of planning. And then we had a second meeting. And then the third meeting was actually a brand new Lynnwood chamber that we started. I've done that. I've done other things that are very similar as far as, again, making something happen out of nothing. I will continue to engage. I am not going to be the type of mayor, and I'm not being pejorative about anybody. I'm not judging anyone. But for me, I will not be the type of mayor that will just sit at my desk, take phone calls, and have business meetings. That'll be part of it. But I'll also be out in my community. I'll be out stopping by and visiting, like my friend Fong at Anna's Home Furnishings. I'll stop by there and we'll have a cup of coffee and talk about how things are going. I'll stop by the Moonshine Bar and Grill for lunch and talk to Tom Sprague, the owner there, and see how things are happening here in Lynnwood. I'll also be talking to the community members, especially the community members that are at various churches, etc. I have been up to the mosque up here on Highway 99 here in Lynnwood and met with them, and they are raring to be involved. And I said, well, what's stopping you? And we will continue having those conversations. And I told these, and there was like 11 of these gentlemen that was part of this mosque. And I said, I gave them my card, I gave them my home phone number, my personal home phone number, my personal email, said, let's get together, 2, 3, 4 of you at a time, come on over to my house and we'll sit down, we'll talk. I want to know what's going on in the community. I want to be engaged. I want to be happening. Speaking of engaged, and cut me off if I start rambling here a little bit, but speaking of engaged, I want us to do a lot more as far as events here in Lynnwood, small and large events. I was the chairman of the Lynnorama. This is from ancient history now. I was the chairman of Lynnorama many, many years ago, which is our Lynnwood Festival. Believe it or not, we had a parade right down 196th Street. We had booths and people and baby crawl contests right in the middle of Wilcox Park. It was like a 3 or 4 day event. There was the carnival was at Fred Meyer's. Those are the things that we're lacking right now here in Lynnwood. And I think especially with my background in business and the entertainment side of my business, I think that we're going to make Lynnwood a fun place to be. We're going to make Lynnwood someplace where people are going to say, wow, I really enjoy living in Lynnwood. I really enjoy going to Lynnwood to visit. I feel so good that as a business, we came to Lynnwood because we're part of this big Lynnwood family.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Linda.
Okay, name the top challenge you see for Lynnwood in the next 5 years. And as mayor, how would you address it?
I think that the biggest challenge that we're going to be having, one of the biggest challenges, I should say, because we will have several, and it's a lot of it has to do with as cities do grow, cities do mature, they have these challenges. But in our case, we're going to have a bigger challenge than I think a lot of people even realize. And I'm afraid a lot of politicians will not admit that this is going to be a challenge. And that is sound transit. For all the good that sound transit is going to be bringing as far as having the transportation from Lynnwood going down all the way to the airport or downtown Seattle, whatever, it's also going to be absolute havoc on traffic. Our Lynnwood, our city of Lynnwood has had traffic challenges forever. When the light rail comes in, it is going to be worse than we have ever seen it. And it's this is going to be great for Edmonds because they'll just be able to drive up to Lynnwood Station. It'll be great for Mill Creek, just driving down to Lynnwood Station. It'll be great for Briar coming up and Mountain Lake Terrace coming up to the Lynnwood Station. But Lynnwood is going to have the bunt of all of the having all this traffic going right through Lynnwood. Many years ago, decades ago, a former council member who became our mayor, Mayor Tina Roberts Martinez, we were on a committee about this. And one thing that we had concluded at the end of that study was we didn't want to have the station right where it currently is. We wanted it just slightly north of Lynnwood, perhaps on 164th. That way, Lynnwood is not being the magnet of all these vehicles coming to Lynnwood and causing these troubles as far as the traffic concerns. Now, with that, this is an escalating problem, which includes We're also bringing in a lot of housing coming in here. We're also, so that with the multi-housing, we're going to have more people, more traffic from that. And with the additional number of people coming to Lynnwood, we need to be building our police force. These are all challenges that we just can't say, wow, we got pat ourselves on the back. We got the light rail station coming right here to Lynnwood. Now, the second part of your question is I don't have all the answers. As much as I'd like to say, you know what? I've got an answer for everything. And I'm afraid that as much of a know-it-all as I seem to be sometimes, just ask my wife, but as much as a know-it-all as I seem to be, I don't have those. We're going to have to take those challenges one at a time, but at least I'm aware that it is a challenge. So many people don't even have a clue that's happening. For many years, I used to teach goal setting in the JCs. And one thing I found out is that when you find out where you are and you find out where you want to go, that's probably 75 to 90% of your answers. So once we're challenged with some of these problems, we identify them, we figure out where we want to go from there, and that'll almost automatically give us, again, 75 to 90% of our answers. But we have to be on top of it. We have to stay on top of it. We can't just be, oh, everybody just gets along and we'll just write it out. No pun intended on the write it out part. But we will definitely, we need to address these challenges and have answers. And once again, and I'll underscore this for this entire interview, and that is, and we need to be keeping the people of Lynnwood has to be our number one concern, number one focus. We need to be taking care of them. And we need to be also, after we take care of them, we take care of our stakeholders, such as our businesses, which pays for just about everything here in Lynnwood.
Thank you very much. Lisa.
Thank you. As mayor, how would you address concerns from marginalized populations who might not feel safe living in Lynnwood? And I want to clarify what I mean by that, because some other folks had wanted me to do that too. This could be a situation of perhaps people of color who might not feel safe walking along a street for whatever reason, or it could be a situation where folks are not comfortable around law enforcement. So in those parameters, that's kind of what I'm looking for you to address.
Yeah, I want to I want to address that question and start by thanking my fellow council member, Julieta Altamirano Crosby, because she has been extremely helpful to me these last couple of years. I've known Julieta for about 5 years now. I've known her husband for 25 years. But Julieta has been an incredible resource and a person with a great heart that has been able to help me understand. Now, I want to take one part of that to start with, and that is a lot of people that were born in Mexico, have lived in Mexico, and that have come up here to the United States. And again, this is just a sliver of answering your question. But those that have come up here, they are afraid of the police, or they're concerned about calling the police, because in Mexico, the police system is quite corrupt. So if you have a problem, the last thing you want to do is be calling the police. So they come up here, they haven't learned our culture yet. They haven't learned about how our police have, I know most of these people that, many of these police officers and sergeants and commanders, etc. And they've got a wonderful heart. We just need to be able to connect. We need to be doing introductions. If I can get into these communities, and I have been working on that, and I've been doing it, and then we have meetings where they're able to meet some of our police officers and find out these are the good guys, these are the good gals. these are the people that really care about me, then that's going to make a big, big difference. City of Lynnwood has one of the best police forces in the state, if not the best. They are incredible. Now, that doesn't mean that we've always been perfect. I have personally been involved with some tragic things that have happened here in the city where we had a police chief that did some really bad things and we had removed them. We had an assistant police chief that did some bad things and he ended up not only being removed, but also went to prison for 14 months. We don't tolerate people doing bad things. Our police force is not just a cut above. Our police force is a cut above, a cut above, a cut above. They are excellent. And I'll point out something that you probably have all seen on a video, and that is, and again, my hands off to AJ. AJ is one of our police officers that was confronted by somebody on camera, and they just were they did all they could, calling him names and everything else, and he kept his composure. AJ Burke is Officer AJ Burke, and he did an incredible, I could not have done that. But he kept his composure while this person just taunted him. This shows the quality of the people that work here in Lynnwood. We got a diverse group of people that live here, that work in our police department, and they work very well together. And I got to tell you something. They're not seeing color. When they look at their fellow police officers and sergeants, etc., they just see them as brothers and sisters, and they have a standard, and they won't put up with any corruption. They will not put up with low standards, because their heart is very, very strong. Their heart is with the city of Lynnwood, is with people. And so, again, I've been very involved with the Hispanic. In fact, I've never seen this happen before, but I brought someone on board to my campaign. If you go to my website, you'll see it. Karina Gasparin is in charge of my community outreach. She is helping me in the community, reaching out to minorities. Well, and we'll be involved with a little festival August 7th up here on 168. But we're not just stepping back and talking about things we're going to do. We're doing it. I'm a doer. I don't have time to just, and all of us politicians, we talk a lot, and I'm one that does too. But I'm not just one to just talk and not make things happen. So we've done that. Like I've mentioned earlier, I've been up to the mosque and we've been dealing with them. I was over there at the Church of Etria, the Christian church, which was the old Masonic temple. And one thing I want to say is, when I've been to places like that church, the Eritrean Ethiopian church, we see the kids there. I've got a very diverse background. I was a minority most of my life. We lived overseas in the Pacific, but I was mostly a diverse person, a minority living in Hawaii, both as a young child and also in high school. So I know what it's like. I don't walk in anybody else's shoes, but I know what it's like to feel a little bit apprehensive. Like when I was in high school in Hawaii, you had to make sure that on certain days you didn't walk into certain bathrooms, otherwise you get beat up. So it's not like I'm not insensitive to that, but I want to be able to be engaged with people, to tell them that they're safe. The more people that we can engage with, that I can engage with, and that the people around me that are working in City Hall are engaged with, people will feel comfortable to come to City Hall. I want them to feel comfortable to go to the police department. I want them to feel comfortable to be, for their little kids and this is what I was getting at the beginning, is that one thing I found is kids throughout the world are happy. It's just darned adults that tell them about how they can't be happy. And so I want everyone to know that they are very much part of our family.
Thank you so much, Jim. We'll move on to the next question now. Thanks, Linda.
Okay, pretend you are talking to a business owner who is considering relocating their business to Lynnwood. Give us your 30-second sales pitch for why the city is a good place for business.
So as I understand it, you're saying that someone is outside the city of Lynnwood, they're thinking about coming to Lynnwood? Oh, perfect. Because once I'm mayor, I'll be able to tell them, come on down to my office and let's sit down and have a cup of coffee together. And by the way, we just got rid of the head tax here in Lynnwood. Not only that, we've got an incredible Chamber of Commerce that will be very much supportive of everything that you do. We have a Lynnwood employees that are a family of people that want to help you make your life easier. And if you got a problem, here's my phone number. You call me and we'll get together. We'll figure this stuff out. I want to come up with solutions. I don't want to just always have problems that we have to go over and over. And isn't that kind of the definition of stupidity, doing the same thing over and over again? We want to have solutions to make them actually so that they not just feel welcome, but they feel like they're going to be more successful here in Lynnwood because of all the engagements with the various activities that got going on. We'll have, again, many and major festivals. We'll be doing things that will bring people to Lynnwood, and also, and therefore, it will be bringing business to you as a business owner.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're down to the last part, and this is your time to wrap up and talk about why people should vote for you. Now, I will say, to be fair, because you have covered a lot of ground and talked about a lot of things that you will offer, we'll give you about a minute so we can make sure we have time to get this thing into our time frame to be fair to all the candidates. So in 1 minute, tell people why they should vote for you.
Well, my plans are, the most important thing is that my plans in Lynnwood are to focus on the people of Lynnwood instead of the big out of town interest. We need to put Lynnwood first. I am committed to, within the first year, we'll get 50% of our street people into alternative arrangements and off the streets. Within the 2 years, we'll make Lynnwood the safest city in Snohomish County. But we're going to start on day one. And third, within 3 years, we'll eliminate every single utility tax that we have in Lynnwood. Those are those 11 taxes. We'll get rid of those. With the help of the city council too. Vote for me if you want safer neighborhoods, safer streets, and lower taxes. And we need to focus on the people of Lynnwood. The results will be that we'll once again make Lynnwood the gemstone of South Snohomish County.
Great. Thanks so much for coming by. We really appreciate it, Jim.